Okay, let's talk about this is meeting number 12. I call it 12B here, Quinn, just so you know, of the presentations. And let's go ahead and get started. Just some facts, data, and science first, I think would be helpful to you. Though there is still cause for some concern with the lives of the very aged, I know I am, and with low immunity, the current strain of COVID-19 it's causing a lot of really bad colds. I know about 7 people that have it right now. You probably know some too. More on that in a moment. The Omicron variant, just a minute, I got somebody coming in here. I should have made one of you all host. Okay. Okay. The Omicron variant is an upper respiratory illness and therefore spreads more rapidly, right? It's upper respiratory because the other one was in the lungs. So there will be a lot of cases, and you probably know peeps or who have had or have it, or probably will know some that will have it. I'm pretty sure. So it spreads much faster. But as I said in the first bullet, it's not nearly as viral and as serious as the Delta strain. And most scientists agree, and even Fauci the other day said it seems to be overcoming the other variant. And that's the way viruses work. This one here is stronger. And because viruses want to live, it moves up the respiratory tract. And this is always how it's happened. Everyone in the media is highly concerned with testing right now because it's so many cases, right? Everybody gets concerned. But, even Supreme Court justices seems not to have the right information. And a lot of that is the mixed messaging we're getting from our alphabet soup, NIH, CDC, HHS, FDA. Children and youth death rates are due to COVID-19 is almost unmeasurable. Lots of outpatient treatment like in any flu season. It's a lot of outpatient treatment, which are counting as a hospitalization. I'm not sure why. Here's some charts I pulled right today off the LA County Health website, back from January 2nd. The new data is coming out tonight. You can see it's the 2nd, it's gonna be the 9th. They check it every week. And you can see that this is a tracking of the tests that are positive. Because as you know, you can test positive and not have any symptoms at all, but yet you stay home, of course. But you can see there's a great deal of test positives, I should say, that we've had lately. Then we look at the rolling average, and you can see it's up as well. By the way, these charts are going to be available. If you guys could put that link into the chat site, people could just watch and pick up the charts by clicking on the link. One of you can do that. I have them all in one directory, the PDFs, okay? So could you share that link? You know how to share the link to that drive, I guess. Quinn or Christina, right?
Got it.
Okay, good. Okay. And then here are the death rates. You can see out here at the end, we're actually going down since Christmas. We're already way down from before. By the way, look at these numbers. They're quite low. When you see things in the news, you hear about the hospitals being overwhelmed, which they are not, by the way. You're sitting at about 8 to 10 deaths. I mean, any death is a tragedy, but you're sitting at a daily of 8 to 10 deaths in a county of about 18 million people. I think it's 16 million. Anyway, any death is tragic, and we know that we need to protect our most weak and most elderly, because that's where we're still seeing those deaths, unfortunately. But it's not nearly where it was during the middle of the pandemic, as you might guess, and certainly not even since back in October, which is what this chart is looking at. And that's even with Omicron and all the cases we're having. So there's a lot of cases. Fortunately, a very extremely low death rate. And that's a good thing, I think. More facts. We don't have any meaningful studies, unfortunately, data or approved existing treatments. And this causes fear. The fact we don't have that. Treatment depends on the state in which you live. And for example, monoclonal antibodies are hard to get here in Southern California, but my friends tell me in Florida and Texas, I just talked to Donnie, my good friend there, in Texas, Idaho, and those kind of states, they're very, very plenteous. and they're an established treatment. And at first they thought it wouldn't work on Omicron, but actually there is a version of it that does work. And by the way, since it's not as deadly, you only concern if you need it for a serious case anyway. I put etc. because I want to keep this video able to be posted. You'll see why. I'll talk about that in a minute. We got to be careful what we say online these days about the virus. Because big tech, which is YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, do limit the discussion of treatments that work or news about prevention of COVID. So I'm got to be careful. In fact, they might even not like me saying that. But sometimes you have a doctor that will tell you stuff and will help you. I found one, by the way. You have to know how to protect yourself and your family. It's a personal thing. Each one of us needs to protect ourselves for sure during this time. The Supreme Court probably later this week will strike down the federal mandates for vaccine. I don't think they'll strike down the mask mandate. There's no reason to do that. I don't think anybody's been suing for that, but I may be wrong, by the way. It will not make a difference in California for the most part, no matter what they do. That will still depend on which county you live in, that's all. If you're in Orange County, and I forgot to do that. By the way, the cases in Orange County are lower than LA County, and they don't have mandatory masking, or in some cases, even mandatory vaccines. So that's something scientifically fascinates me as a person with a science degree, but it's the truth. Some of these counties that don't have mandates have lower cases. Here's some suggestions from us, non-medical, I think. Vaccination is a personal decision. Some of you are wondering what I did. Well, I'm fully vaccinated, all three, the 2 and the booster. But that was a personal decision, as you might have guessed. Despite my great physique, I am a little overweight. And I do have type 2 diabetes. I'm being very transparent. So I thought that if I had low sugar and I caught the virus, it could be a fatal thing for me. So I took the vaccination and boosted. Not sure if I'll do it again, but I did take the 3rd booster, and I won't have to worry about it for a few months anyway. And also will allow me to still do, if I visit colleges that require it. There are a couple of colleges that my students go to that do require it. There still seems to be a value in immune deficient persons to take the vaccine, and the elderly who can possibly hold off serious illness if infected and sick. Okay. Let's see. Here's my suggestion. These won't sound unusual to you, I don't think. Wash your hands, K95, N95 mask in tight inside crowds for sure. You want to wear that. Social distancing where you can, remember that. Stay home if you're sick or feverish. Rest, drink more water. Vitamin C, D3, quercetin. I noticed those videos are up online. Just Google quercetin, D3, and that stuff. You'll see they're up there. YouTube hasn't taken those down because they're careful not to associate it with as a cure. These are preventatives in every flu season that we should have been taking. I'll probably continue to do that even after this. Colleges, you wonder about the effect? Temporary closures in some states. I noticed back east, about 50 colleges are temporarily closed or suspending in person. And you just heard Christina announce that CSU Dominguez, I think it just announced it. When was that, Christina? Oh, she's probably not here.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
It was on Friday afternoon that they announced that.
It was Friday. Yeah, I heard rumors about it last week from my CSU contacts, and we may hear more. I think UC will follow on Monday. That's usually what happens. They wait for CSU, who has 23 schools, and UC will probably temporarily close. I know many churches have closed for services and things like that. I'm not going to comment on any of that because I want to keep this video okay. I'm thinking class of 2022 will not see closures. Oh, I should have said there's some talk about LAUSD closing and going back to online, which I think would be a mistake. I'm pressuring them right now through my contacts that they should not do that. After seeing those horrible statistics this week, I don't know if you heard about it, that we're down some 40% in some cases in our test scores among Black and Hispanic students during the pandemic. There was a lot of backsliding and academic achievement. I saw it a lot in our math students in SAT. They seem to be very deficient. I'm super concerned with what that means because it's hard to teach certain subjects when you're online. And then 1/3 of our students, as you saw if you were in a meeting I had last, or if you saw my videos, 1/3 of students, don't seem to be able to learn online anyway. But then 1/3 that do, and 1/3 have mixed results is what we found in our data. I'm thinking class of 2022 will not see closures as Omicron becomes more and more dominant. That's what I think when you go in the fall to college, that we'll be looking in the back rear view mirror at this virus. Because if Omicron takes over, hey, it's just spreads faster during flu season is what I've learned. And it doesn't seem to be very virulent at all. And I think I'll be able to say that without being struck from YouTube. We do have okay. Christina, please go ahead.
There's a question.
Please.
Do you know the list of schools that require vaccines?
What a great question. I do know, and I'll make a good comment about that. And I'll put it on the video here. So you'll be able to get the video and look, or you can take notes. I don't have a chart. I started to put that up, but again, I didn't want to be very careful. I'll just tell you though. Here's the way to know it. I can tell you how to know it. How's that? Any state, and this is, I'm sorry, I don't like to get political. I do not. I like to tell the truth. You guys know that. Any state that has a Republican state house and governor, Republican governor, are wide open and they have not closed. States which have governors that are Democrats are pretty much slow opening and closing. Look at California, right? Where you have CSU and UC that are closing temporarily. But Idaho, no, there wasn't even discussed at Boise State or in Arizona. It wasn't even discussed. And this puts us in a tough position, many people politically, who just don't like red states. You can't stand them. But it's the best for your student if they need to be in person. And my students are having awesome experiences in those schools. Awesome. Some of the greatest professional experiences are in states that are so-called red states, which are said to be racist by many of us. This is a very, very difficult topic for me because I have to tell you the truth. And that's how you know if your school is open. So Black schools are open. And the reason they're open is because they're in states that have Republican governors. And if we just drop the politics, we can probably figure out what's going on. Go ahead.
Does that mean, Deacon, like, for example, Boise does not require vaccines, but
not at all.
Does?
No mandate, but guess what? My students report, get this is interesting. It was just in the newspaper in Boise. There was no vaccine mandate at Boise State, but get this, 86% of students are vaccinated. Isn't it funny when you don't tell people what to do, they do it? Isn't that interesting? Grand Canyon, I think it's 74%. Christina, there's no mandates. They do have some protocols at Boise State. For example, on group meetings, they have rules, social distancing, the things we used to do. You remember social distancing and masks, things like that. And they have a lot of their classes outside. And, I understand when they're able to, they were having them outside and they didn't have to do masking outside, as you probably know. And they're having sporting events as well. So it depends on the state that you're in and frankly, the leadership of the state and what their political situation is in the state. Florida is wide open, right? You all know that. It's wide open. It was in the news recently for something very funny, and I won't say about it, just no need to do that. I hope that answered the question. I probably over-answered it. And you can put certain schools in the chat, and Christina will tell you, and I'll tell you if they're open or not. Okay? Okay, people are showing up. Let's continue. I think I'm about done. So I'm done with that.